Hello, this is Courtney with C. Clark Creative. Thanks for stopping by for this colorful ink blended birthday card tutorial. I'm starting with some ink blending on Neenah Classic Crest 80-pound cardstock. I have the La La Land Crafts Water Ripples stencil. This is a combo stencil set and I'm just using the finer water ripples. And I've treated my stencil with some Pixie Spray. It helps it stick to the cardstock, so I don't need to use the magnets on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station here because it holds onto the paper, but I do use the magnets a little bit just to help reinforce everything staying in place. The stencil and the paper will move around a little bit. Anyway, I'm starting with blending with some Distress Oxide inks. I have Spiced Marmalade, Peacock Feathers, and Seedless Preserves, and I'm using mini ink blending tools for stenciling over this. I laid down my initial bits of color and then I go back once I have all the color on, I go back to help blend without adding any more color. I just use the residual color on those pads. Once I'm done, I move on to my second panel that I'm just ink blending directly onto the panel. Again, moving in the same way, getting down the color and then just using the tools to help the color blend without really adding extra color. This does not need to be a perfect blend. I'm going to be using this behind my sentiment. So I have the Waffle Flower label grading combo here. I've got the stamps and the dies that match up along with these. So I'm trying to just place these so that I get a variation of color behind the text boxes. I am inking these with a VersaFine pigment ink for fine details, which is great on the fine line. And I do stamp these a few times just to make sure I get a good impression. And then I move on to die cutting these out. After that, I trim my card panel. So I have a card base cut from Gina Cardstock, and Blue Lagoon matches really well with the Peacock feathers. And then I'm trimming down my card panel so that I have so essentially it's a 1/4 inch smaller than the card base, and that gives a nice frame effect around. I'm using scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive to adhere these two panels together. I peeled just the corners of each off, and that helps me so I can position my panel over my card base and then without it sticking. And then once it's where it wants, I just press down those corners and pull those little tabs to get the rest of the tape paper released. So you see, I just eye my cards. I'll pull out rulers every now and then, but for the most part, I eye my projects. And then I just have a scrap piece of white cardstock here that I'm putting down in the middle just to help frame out and ground my texts a little bit so they're not lost in that background, the competing color blending variations. I just use some tweezers just to help with alignment. I find it's easier for me to visualize a little bit better if my fingers aren't in the way. And then I pull out some scrapbook.com adhesive foam to pop up these text boxes. Playing around with the vertical alignment here. And then again, I'm just using tweezers just to aid in placing these down right where I want them. It's just easier to visualize if fingers aren't in the way. With that, this card is done. I love how this turned out. A bit of a rainbow effect. Just those 3 cards turns into much more, or the 3 inks turns into much more than 3 colors with the blending, and it's just, I just love using Distress Oxide inks. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.